I think Mania is Roman versus Fatu. I think he has earned that opportunity. They have teased those interactions without doing a full thing between those two. We know Jacob Fatu is a star. Solo has done a good job. Jacob Fatu is better, though. I think you put those two, it doesn't need to be the main event, and it's a hell of an opportunity for Fatu to shine.
So I think that makes the most sense in terms of not getting him to the main events, because I agree. I mean, it doesn't feel like Roman's going to be in the main event, even though he still is, to me, the biggest star WWE has. But, maybe they decide, okay, we're going to put Cena and Cody in the main events, on night 2. But I just can't shake Roman versus Punk. But the problem with Roman versus Punk is there has to be a championship involved.
Right.
Has to be because the only thing that makes sense for those two to fight each other, like based on the character motivations, which I know are now important based on the way Hunter tells stories. Like if this was the Vince era, you could just throw it out the window. But with Roman, the only thing that matters for him, championships and obviously like inter-family drama that he has to take care of. So that's where the Fatu thing I think makes sense. And then for CM Punk, the only thing that makes sense for him at Mania at this point is fighting for a championship. Like he's trying to leave all the pettiness behind. He's here to make money and win championships. And that's been his goal since day one. And I don't know if you're going to be able to drag out Rollins Punk all the way to Mania. So if it's Roman versus Punk, someone's winning a championship somewhere. And those two have to go head to head. And because again, the only way Roman Punk makes sense is if it's for a championship. And the only reason and the only way for me to make all of it also make sense is Roman is a champion going into Mania.
Right.
Because then Punk is cashing in the favor that Paul Heyman owes him. Because if Punk is the world heavyweight champion, let's say, going in, like, he's not doing Roman a favor. He doesn't owe Roman. It's the other way around. So I don't know if Roman somehow gets involved, is not in the Rumble, and somehow instead gets involved with Gunther and ends up winning wins the World Heavyweight Championship from him, and then it becomes Roman Punk because now the bloodline is cool with Cody Rhodes and they're just going to let him do his thing. I don't know. I think that's the thing that makes the most sense. I haven't connected all the dots on quite how we get there, but I think Roman Punk makes a ton of sense. Like, because I don't think you can even do like a traditional, like, oh, Punk eliminates Roman in the Royal Rumble.
Sure.
And that's why they end up fighting, which is, a pretty classic WWE storyline. But that just still, for those two, don't seem to make a ton of sense.
I agree with you on all that part. It's just the getting there that gets tricky, where if Roman takes it off of Gunther, that feels dirty and that feels Vince-esque, where it's the guy that busts his ass year round, like, oh, the part-time celebrity's here. Hey, Punk, you got to drop it to Dwayne. Like, he's going to be in the big spot now. Like, that's what that feels like. And that doesn't feel like Hunter's WWE, but I mean, I guess it could always be swayed. And then Cody, like, you already did that. And you just lose a lot of steam if Cody ends up dropping it to Roman also.
Well, again, unless Cody drops it to KO, and then Roman beats KO.
Chamber.
Yeah, it's a short reign and it gets back to Roman. Then we get to Roman Punk. I don't know.
I don't hate that route. I've been a big advocate of KO should win the title. I don't need it to be a long run. I've always said he drops it back to Cody. If he wins it early February, drops it, I think late February is Elimination Chamber.
Yeah. Where is Elimination Chamber this year?
Canada somewhere.
Oh, it's in Canada. Okay.
Well, that makes it tricky also because KO is going to be a face there then.
That's what but this is also really exciting, I think. The fact that we can't necessarily connect these dots, because last year we couldn't connect the dots accidentally. We were connecting the dots until and even like I saw somebody trying to be, and again, we're going to talk about Hulk Hogan later. Someone trying to like write revisionist history when it came to Hulk about what happened on Monday and tried to do that with Dwayne. Dwayne was never actually booed by anybody.
Right.
Like that was just an internet thing that happened over the weekend because when Dwayne initially took Cody's spot on that SmackDown on Friday, the crowd was going crazy.
Right.
Nobody was going, "We want Cody." No, that started online and on Twitter as a hashtag. And then it just grew so much that by the following Thursday, when they did that special thing in Vegas,
Yeah.
they just flipped the whole thing on its head, and got Cody back involved. So, like, at no point was Rock booed during that, to kind of flip it. But also, like, but again, like, that happened so fast, so we couldn't connect those dots. There's just so many balls in the air right now. They could go a number of different directions. Because here's the other thing: I have no idea what Gunther's direction heading into WrestleMania season is either. It's not like he was featured. Technically, in terms of live camera time, Cody Rhodes, who isn't on the show, got more camera time than the champion of Monday Night Raw, who just got a quick little vignette package to introduce him as the world heavyweight champion of this show during everything else that was going on Monday night.
Yeah, and that's the weird part right now, because we've talked about a lot in terms of the Mania main event. I remember when we started the show 2.5 years ago, it was Roman and then it was everyone else. There was a big drop off in terms of what you wanted to see on a day-to-day, weekly basis when it came to WWE product. There are a lot of characters and a lot of guys and girls right now that are busting their ass that deserve to main event Mania, that you could intrigue and be like, oh, I'm into that. So Roman doesn't even need a main event spot. And that's why I wonder if, like, maybe they just keep him away from it. You put him in the mid card, you make it a big deal. He can still do a half-hour intro and we call it a day there.
But the problem is that Roman Punk, there's money in. Without a doubt,
Yes,
there's money
100%.
in. And you never know with Punk.
True.
Right? I think we've talked about this, whether he was in AEW, and I'm not even just talking about like the behind the scenes stuff with Punk,
Right.
you know, Punk being a malcontent stuff. I'm just talking about his body breaking down because he's an older performer at this point in his career. So I wonder if that's something you're like, okay, we can always come back to Roman versus Punk, because
Sure.
there's always going to be the through line of Paul Heyman, like that favor is always going to be out there. So if you decide to come back to it, we might not actually ever see it, based on injury and timing and things like that. So I don't know if you want to pass on that right now, even though they might.
Fair also, because with your path, like, you can protect Punk. Like, Punk doesn't have to win the Rumble in this situation. It could be even a short run in the Rumble. He doesn't have to do anything in Elimination Chamber. It could just be like, hey, I've got this favor, and we can only see 1 or 2 Punk matches. And he was great on Monday, but how many more of those does he actually have?